Hi, hello, how are you? My name is Sarah from Sarah's Reading Nook, and today we're going to talk about two things: why I read 52 books a year, and how to read more in 2021. So grab a mug, something warm to drink. It's going to be a chatty video. So now in this type of video, I am just trying something different. I really want to just sit back and not talk too loud, just have a nice chat with you all. So I have the microphone right up here, and that's basically going to be how this video is filmed. And we are starting off with a story time. And this is specifically regarding how do I read, or why do I read 52 books a year. So we're going to go all the way back to grad school Sarah. So when I started my graduate program, I really wanted to get into habits. Consistency wasn't something I really enjoyed or could pull off in any kind of way. For instance, undergraduate Sarah, well, she would wait until the day before or sometimes of to start her assignments. And I used to think that was because I needed a creative push. So I would basically go into the computer lab, look at my syllabus, and start fresh. I cannot even tell you in biochemistry how many papers we had to write, but that is how the vast majority of them were written. Now, when I was just starting off, I had a lot of energy. I was able to do that, keep up with that, and I thought that there was no other way that I could do it. I used to be so impressed by people that would start their homework early on and chip at it a little bit every day, but that was not me. And that's how I graduated. That's how I did further education, but I wanted grad school to be different. Actually, I needed it to be different. So then, I remember before graduate school, I started to do some counseling and learning about meditation and mindfulness and just self-care and all of that sort of thing. And then I started to think, what is something that I can do so that I can meet my goals, but also still feel pretty good at the end of the day? And I thought that's when I would learn, how to create habits. And throughout your life, you do have people that show you how to do habits, how to achieve goals, all of those sorts of things. But I don't listen. And not until I wanted to sort of do it for myself, So then I started to watch videos about cleaning, how to keep my place clean. And then I was like, wow, I could just have a schedule to do every day. I started watching more videos and just trying out little things like a simple morning routine, a simple evening routine. What are the things that I need to do every day to feel clean and accomplished for the next day, but that wouldn't take up too much time because I didn't want to spend all of my time cleaning as well. And I actually timed myself, and I started to do this by saying, okay, in 20 minutes, I'm going to clean my kitchen and I'm going to clean as much as possible, but I have to be cleaning for those 20 minutes. And it's amazing how much work you can get done. And that's basically how, I started to create habits. So how does this relate to reading? So I had a hypothesis. What would happen if I set a goal for myself to read one book every week, thus becoming 52 books a year, because there's 52 weeks in a year? I wasn't sure how that was going to go. I totally was not sure how that would go, actually. But I tried it out. I had read, 50 books a year before, but when I didn't have too many responsibilities. Now I was working, and I was also, doing this channel, and, how am I going to read 52 books a year? But I actually found it easy to do, and I'll tell you why. Say you dedicate half an hour or an hour of reading every day. And let's say in that period of time, you can read 40 pages. 40 pages times 7 days, that's 280 pages. Say, for instance, you have a book that's like this, and this book is 169 pages. You can read this in a few days, 4 or 5. And what about those extra couple of days during the week? Well, let's see this one. This one is 466 pages. If you add these together, you'll see how some books will be short, some books will be longer, but if you read at least 40 pages a day, you can totally get there. Now this is going to be the part where I talk about, like, how do you read 52 books a year? One thing that's really motivating, to be honest, to be perfectly honest, is to have some sort of form of accountability. I really love my book club, and I do read at least one book a month just for that. Then I have wrap-ups at the end of the month that I try to do. Now, some months I don't do wrap-ups, and, that's okay because I'll do a year wrap-up for sure. But it makes you sort of want to, It makes you want to read so that you have something to talk about. There are also little practical things that you can do throughout the day. If you like to listen to audiobooks, you can read a book at 1.25, 1.5 times speed. And after a bit of time, before you know it, you have read a book. And there is a question like, what do you do while you're listening? You can listen during a commute, if you have to travel any distance to go to work or school. I work at a hospital, so I commute every day, and so I can listen to a book a little bit of time every single day. When I'm doing my cleaning, I'll listen to an audiobook. And my favorite types of audiobooks to listen to are nonfiction because it feels like a podcast. Or you can be drawing or filling in a bullet journal, and before you know it, you've read a book. There are productivity apps as well, and I'll go through that a little bit more later on in Planuary, but you can totally just have even your timer for 20 or 30 minutes on a phone, on your microwave timer, and just have a sprint during that time. Just say, how many pages can I read in this time? And then just kind of go for it. Or don't have a sprint and just fall nicely into a routine before you go to bed or when you wake up. And some practical sort of things to have on you is, for instance, ebooks, to have an e-reader with you wherever you go and have books on it so that you can read whenever you want to. A library card so that you can take books out from the library and you don't feel like you have to purchase all of your books. You can read books that you already own that you haven't read before. And if you want to treat yourself, you can also purchase books, support a local bookstore. Those are all different ways that you can access books. And sometimes you can borrow it from your friend. But a question is, why 52? And if you're struggling to sort of have an idea of how many books a week, I would just think to yourself, how many pages a day do I want to read? How long can I devote to reading? And then you can sort of see what you would be comfortable averaging. And also, goals are not static. You do not have to say at the beginning of the year, I want to read 52 books, no matter what. You don't have to put that much pressure on yourself. But if you want to simply read more books, if you read 30 books one year and you increase it and say, I want to read 32 books this year, you have read 2 more books. So you've read more books. And I know many people that will start with a goal and then kind of knock it out of the park. And then once they sort of get into a groove, they even forget what the number goal was. I know that many people are mood readers, and I was like that one time before as well. But more and more, I find just so much comfort in having a plan, sticking with it, and having it guide my reading frequency. The more habits I make, the more control I think I feel. And if you're sort of wondering, like, how do I stick with a plan? I get excited about things like, for instance, doing a wrap up at the end of the month. And for book clubs are just a wonderful way to engage with the community without having to like create content if you don't want to, but to feel some sort of sense of community. I am not shamelessly plugging our book club, which is the Top Shelf Society. A lot of fun, good people, great books, and something I really love to do is look at statistics. I like pie charts. Line graphs make me happy. Venn diagrams, yes. And just to end this, I want to chat briefly about why it is I like to read. Because with goal setting, sometimes we can forget like why we want to read in the first place. So for me personally, I do want to read the same amount of books, maybe more, that would be good. But one of the biggest benefits that I find from reading is that I get to learn things about the world, to learn different perspectives that I might not have, to try and understand others, to learn different processes. For example, in this book, I am learning quite a bit about American politics. In this book, I learned that sometimes one box of tissues for a single sitting is not enough. In this book I'm currently reading, well, I don't really know what I'm learning yet, because I haven't read much. We'll talk about it later. But isn't it just so wonderful to see a different perspective about the world? That, for example, Night by Elie Wiesel, that book was a bit over 100 pages, but that was one of the best books that I have ever read, and it's completely given me insight into something that I could not imagine understanding in that intense way before reading it, or without reading it. Books allow you to sit with the author's thoughts and perspectives, and it really is a process. It's unlike anything else, really, and it's so rewarding. Reading more books is such a gift, and it's also incredibly relaxing as well. And one of my favorite things is to read right before bed, so then I will be able to sort of sleep and just feel relaxed for the next day. Unless I'm reading like The Hunger Games, then I that day is for reading it. But yeah, since you've clicked on it, I'm interested to know, what are your thoughts on reading consistently, thus allowing you to read more? Personally, I see the value in both reading consistently and reading more. In planning out my reading, I'm able to focus on things that I really enjoy. But yeah, this is just a rambly, chatty video. Who knows, I might change my mind and I might just say like, read more books no matter what. But those are just my thoughts tonight. I hope you are all well and safe, and I'm looking forward to the next video, which is going to be my morning routine. And I'll show you how I do some cleaning and how I tackle a few things at the beginning of the day that just sets me up and makes me feel very productive, but also calm. Anyhow, that's everything for today. Bye.